Think about the most tedious story you've ever had to sit through. It likely followed a highly predictable looping rhythm. This happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. When events merely follow one another without a causal link, the narrative loses its drive. The audience becomes entirely passive, waiting for a conclusion that never seems to arrive. In a digital landscape where every second is a battle for retention, attention is the most fragile currency we have. If you don't deliberately engineer tension into your message, it effectively disappears the moment the viewer scrolls past. To hold that attention, master communicators rely on the three-act structure, an invisible blueprint that aligns with how we naturally process information. There's a common misconception that this model is a restrictive formula designed to churn out predictable, identical stories. In reality, the structure is like a gift box. The external dimensions remain constant to ensure the package can be delivered, but the contents inside can be anything you imagine. We're going to deconstruct this framework by using it. This entire video is a real-time, three-act demonstration of the theories it explains. Structure provides the psychological scaffolding necessary for an audience to actually engage with your creative freedom. We've now entered Act 2. This is where most stories fail, because they lack a mechanism to sustain the initial hook. Every plot begins with subjective expectation, the flawed, optimistic belief a protagonist has about how easily they'll reach their goal. But they inevitably collide with objective reality, the unyielding truth of the world that stands in their way. By replacing simple sequences with reactive buts and therefores, you force the character into a direct struggle with that reality. Plot is the causal chain reaction generated when that human expectation strikes a hard truth. We have reached the midpoint. This is the pivot, where the video moves from explaining the theory to showing you the strategy. To keep a viewer through the middle of a script, you must use open loops. Presenting an unresolved question creates a cognitive itch that the brain is compelled to scratch. Filmmaker Andrew Stanton calls the ultimate version of this the ununifying theory of 2 + 2. The goal is to give the audience the pieces of the puzzle, but force them to calculate the final answer themselves. If you give them a 4 outright, they have no reason to stay. The mental investment ends and boredom takes over. An audience forced to deduce the truth becomes a participant in the story, making it much harder for them to look away. However, high engagement requires a plunge into the dark night of the soul, the narrative's lowest point. This often follows a false victory, where a moment of success is instantly dismantled by an unforeseen setback. This structural drop is designed to maximize tension. It strips the protagonist of their old tools and forces them to face a final challenge. True transformation is only proven when the character is forced to rely entirely on a new internal truth to survive. That transformation happens at the climax, the moment where a protagonist finally addresses their core wound. This is where the loops we opened in Act 2 are forcefully closed, providing the audience with the payoff they've been waiting for. A healed wound leads to a triumphant resolution. A wound that remains open leads to tragedy. The impact of a climax doesn't come from the scale of the action on screen, but from the completion of the character's emotional arc. This three-part rhythm isn't just a Hollywood preference. It is a reflection of how we have shared information since long before we could read or write. Playwrights call it an architectural structure. Like the verses and chorus of a song, these beats provide the skeleton the brain needs to find order in a chaotic world. Because this framework mirrors our natural psychology, it determines which messages we remember and ignore. Mastering these mechanics is the most effective way to ensure an idea actually takes root in another person's mind.